Right. Hello everyone, today we'll be going over what is cancer and watch out. So what is cancer? Cancer is an uncontrollable cell that grows in numbers and refuses to die, much like an undead zombie. Okay, so how the normal cell cycle usually supposed to go is the cells reproduce through mitosis and meiosis, and they just reproduce like it needs to, and uses tumor suppressor genes to control cell growth and stop it when it needs to stop growing, and the cell would automatically die. So when a cancer mutation occurs, it turns off the tumor suppressor and the cell continues to live and reproduce even though it's not technically functioning, and just takes up space and also puts more stress on the body. So what are mutations? Mutations are changes in the DNA sequence due to either outside sources or changes in the DNA internally. There are two types of mutations: induced, which are usually caused by outside forces, and spontaneous mutations, which are caused by cells inside the cells, like DNA changes or genes. And going back to what tumor suppressor genes are. Tumor suppressor genes do not technically stop tumors, yet they do prevent uncontrollable cell growth. When cancer-like mutations occur, they tend to attack a tumor suppressor gene and directly cause uncontrollable cell growth. The P53 is the master tumor suppressor and causes at least 50% of all cancer. So when this specific tumor suppressor gene malfunctions, it can cause most cancers. So the two-hit hypothesis. In order for cancer to occur, it must be two mutations, not just one. And commonly the first mutation would be induced for people who have already inherited the DNA sequence, yet another mutation must occur in order to activate the cancer mutation. So sometimes a person would already inherit a mutation from their family, their parents, and so on, and they already have a mutation in their DNA sequence. So usually another mutation has to come along to activate it further. And this slide is a visual representation of the two-hit hypothesis. So you see this chromosome at the top. It's only hit once with a genetic mutation, yet the cell is still fine. It's not cancerous because it wasn't activated twice. Now the chromosome at the bottom is hit with two different mutations, which do cause cancers. And on another note, cancer is most of the time considered an old person disease, for the fact being that it has to be these two mutations to cause cancer. Even though that you will already inherit the cancer mutation, it usually does not activate until later on in life with other forces acting upon it. Other forces like carcinogens and mutagens. Mutagens cause 80% of cancers by environmental outside sources. These sources include alcohol and lunch meats, and they can, like carcinogens, that increase the chance of forming a mutation. Right. And mutagens tend to be more harmful than carcinogens, where they directly attack the cell, like X-rays, ultraviolet radiation, and so on. That is why it's mostly prescribed for you to wear sunscreen no matter your skin complexion whatsoever, because you can be black, even though that our skin tends to be more inhibited to the UVA lights. We can still get skin cancer from too much sunlight. So it is recommended to wear the correct amount of sunscreen. And the same for x-rays. The reason that when you're at the dentist's office and you get x-ray on your teeth, the reason why you have that whole metal plate on you is to protect the rest of your body while your teeth are getting x-rayed. And same for doctors taking precautions and so on to prevent radiation from affecting their bodies. Alright, now let's go into protogens and oncogenics. Pro-oncogenes is a gene that everyone has, and it's normal. It starts the normal cell cycle for the cells to reproduce and die when they need to. Yet when the cancer mutation occurs in a pro-oncogene, it turns it into an oncogene, which causes the cell to reproduce without functioning correctly. So everyone has a pro-oncogene. That's what we start off with. But once the cancer mutation is introduced, that's when we get an oncogene, which is harmful to our bodies. And the gains of these mutations is when normal cells are mutated, it creates a new cell type that is uncontrollable. And another note, going to skip to this slide right here. The reason why cancers tend to be hard to treat is because cancer cell is still technically our cells, it's still technically us. So it's hard for the body to attack cancer on its own, because as you see with these white blood cells right here, they are looking for the problem in the body. But since the cancer cell is still technically us, they're not going to recognize the cancer cell as the problem causing the body to malfunction or causing extra stress on the body. They will still think it's a normal cell. Going back to... Alright, characteristics of cancers. One characteristic of cancer is metastasis, when cancer breaks away from the main mass and starts invading other parts of the body. So even though cancer, let's say, could start in your breast, it could spread to your stomach, to your pancreas, and other parts of the body, because it's when it spreads from one part and affects another. Or same for how tumors start to infect the brain. They will have a main mass of tumor. They will find the main tumor, but while in the conditions of the rest of the brain, there tends to be many masses of that same tumor that is the main mass, because that's when the cancer cell spreads to different parts of the body and starts affecting nearby parts. That's why when it comes to brain, like tumors that are located in the brain, it's usually harder to treat because it's not just one, it's multiple in different areas. Right, another characteristic of cancer cells are enogenesis. It's basically when tumors support the growth of blood vessels in order to spread the cancer throughout the body, so making it easier. So I would say this is also an example of leukemia, and it is technically a form of a blood-based cancer that spreads quickly throughout the body. I would say this would be the main cause of this cancer to spread. Alright, and I already went through that. So this is a visual example also why cancer is harder to treat. Not all cancers spread the same. You see this runner right here in the back in a green shirt and red shorts. He's running at a slower pace than the runner right here in the yellow shirt. Yet these are both the same cancers. Yet, depending on where the cancer is located in the body, the diet of the person, etc., the cancer can spread slowly and be treated because it's being spread slowly and you catch it earlier on. Yet it can also spread quickly, that gives less time for it to be treated. Alright, cancer in the black community. Now, I'm honestly speaking in general to the black community because Just like I'll use myself as an example. I have cancer on both sides of my family. Both my grandfathers have cancer, like pancreatic cancer, and my grandmother had a form of breast cancer. So it's very likely for me to have a cancer mutation already in my DNA sequence. So it's more likely for me to catch it. Now, in general, black people have the highest rates and shortest span of any other races for most cancers. Prostate cancer death amongst black men are double than any other race. As I said, both my grandfathers had pancreatic cancer, and luckily they found it and was able to treat it in time, but some people aren't as lucky. And 40% of black women are more likely to die from breast cancer than white women. Just like our Black Panther, rest in peace to soul. He had suffered from stomach cancer, despite him being of young age and not seemingly going through it. He had it, and he did die from it. Now, no one's immune to this disease. And also, cancer, as I said earlier, is a very broad disease, which also makes it harder to treat. Cancer is, it's just a brief description of multiple different types of cancer, like stomach cancer, breast cancer, skin cancer, and more. These cancers are in different parts of the body whose cells, in general, perform different functions. Even though we will have the same DNA sequence to every single cell, each cell does perform a different function, which means each cell will need to have a different treatment. Not to mention that there's different forms of these cells, like smooth cells, skeletal cells, and so on. The treatment may work well, it may work better than other treatments on another parts of the cells. Right. So, black people and healthcare. Historically, black people in the medical community had their own issues for the longest time, and technically it's still partly believed today, with at least 40% of, in a survey with white doctors, they believe that black people could handle pain better than any other races. This is from 19th century scientists. They do not have any conclusive evidence on this, and this was just something that they assumed. So the black community also have been tricked to unwanted experiments, like the Tuskegee spinal test, where they said they were testing for syphilis, and would stick a needle and basically just stick a metal needle in the back of someone's spine, and this would dismobilize people. They couldn't go to work. Some people had lasting effects where they still have back pains to this day, and there was no conclusive test done. They were just doing this for fun. And also, sadly, which is common, black women are 3 to 4 times more likely to die of childbirth than white women. And I do believe this cause is because of, as I said earlier, doctors will believe that black people can take pain better when it's obviously not the case. And him having this pre-notion leads them to slowly treat people, which is not right. Right, and how is science fighting this battle? In order to fight this battle of cancer, scientists have adopted genetic targeting or target medications, or pharmacogenesis. This is basically when scientists would do tests, and based on a person's genetic makeup, will prescribe medicines and treatments that are suited for that person. And same for pharmacogenesis. Scientists would basically test different medications to see how they would affect said person if they had positive effects, and if these effects would work better for them.